Admiral Kios Vex sat through yet another dreary session of the Galactic Federation Council, his patience wearing thinner with each passing word. His 4 metallic fingers tapped against the polished crystalline surface of the council chamber's massive table, the sound barely audible over the ambient hum of climate stabilizers and multilingual translation systems. Zara 9, the endlessly monotone representative from the Orion trade sector, was in the middle of a lengthy proposal on tax restructuring. The Admiral wasn't sure if the droning voice or the subject matter was more painful. Then, everything changed. Without warning, the emergency lights burst into life, flooding the chamber in an ominous crimson hue. Conversations cut off mid-sentence. Senators and representatives looked around, confused. Vex straightened his command insignia and muttered to himself, "What now?" The chamber doors flew open. High Commander Tia Ren stormed in, uncharacteristically disheveled. Her usual composed form, a glimmering silver-scaled dignitary known for calm under pressure, was now a figure of urgency and dread. Her voice carried the kind of tremor that made even the most jaded military officers sit up straight. Earth has gone silent. The words hit the room like a seismic shockwave. Some scoffed. Others exchanged glances. A few nervously checked their data screens. "Oh no, whatever shall we do?" came the snide remark of Senator Blix, lazily floating in his hoverpod, arms crossed. Perhaps they finally nuked themselves into extinction, a primitive species playing with toys they barely understand. A few chuckles followed. But Admiral Vex didn't laugh. Instead, he observed Tia closely. Her eyes, every set of them, told him something was deeply wrong. "Commander," he said, his voice firm. "Explain." Tia stepped forward and tapped into the chamber's central projection interface. A star map of the Sol system flickered into view, overlaid with data streams flashing with red alerts. Her voice lowered to a solemn tone. "It's not just that their communications are down. It's everything. All of it. Every signal from Earth, every human outpost, every station, every relay, gone, not disabled, gone. At the exact same moment. No distress calls, no beacon failsafes, not even debris." Silence swept the chamber like a wind. Representative Cole 12 muttered, "Good riddance. One less volatile species to worry about." Vex stood up slowly. His frame was large, even by military standards, and his presence cast a long shadow over the council table. "You're all missing the point," he growled. "The humans may be crude, they may be chaotic, but they're not quiet. Ever." That got their attention. "They argue with themselves over everything," Vex continued. "They couldn't form a single global government. Their economic systems are fragmented, their philosophies conflict constantly, and they bicker over planetary weather patterns. But now, suddenly, without warning, they've acted in complete unison. That should terrify every one of you." The weight of his words fell heavy. The murmurs stopped. The gravity of the moment settled in. "What about their defense grid?" Vex asked, already suspecting the answer. "It's still active," Tia responded, her voice quieter now. "Actually, it's expanding." She motioned toward the projection. The display zoomed in. What had once been Earth's modest network of orbital satellites and defense platforms had transformed into a pulsing geometric lattice, intricate and coordinated in a way that didn't match any previously known Terran technology. Senator Blix leaned forward, frowning. "That can't be. They were at least 50 cycles behind in defense systems. That's what your last report said." "Unless," Vex muttered, "they were hiding their real capabilities." The chamber sat frozen. The idea was unthinkable, and yet, the evidence hovered before them in holographic clarity. The last known transmission from Earth played again on repeat in the background, looping endlessly. "Thanks for all the fish." "What does that even mean?" Zara 9 asked, their crystalline form flickering with anxiety. Vex rubbed his temples. It's a reference, a joke, from one of their cultural archives. Joke? Senator Blix scoffed. This is a joke? No, Vex replied grimly. It's a message, and we're not in on the punchline. Moments later, another alert flashed. The defense network wasn't just expanding, it was synchronizing. Tia's trembling hands projected new data showing energy pulses not only around Earth, but at every known human settlement across star systems. Defense grids were coming online in perfect coordination, linking across light years as if each one were part of a grand design. Panic broke out. Representatives stood, shouted, demanded answers. Some called for preemptive strikes, others demanded retreat. But Vex remained quiet, a strategist's mind turning over every possibility. He recalled his last encounter with Sarah A. Chen, a human diplomat from a routine negotiation. She had smiled at him then. One of those human smiles that somehow always held more meaning than words. The best magic trick, she'd said, isn't making something appear, it's making something disappear. And now, they were gone. But this wasn't a disappearance born of tragedy or error. This felt calculated, coordinated, intentional. Back aboard his flagship, the GFS Starweaver, Vex led the investigation fleet to Earth. 40 of the Galactic Federation's warships joined him. A show of strength, they told themselves, though none knew what to expect. The Sol system greeted them with silence. No contact, no resistance. Just the quiet hum of a defense grid that pulsed like a heartbeat. Status report, Vex barked, eyes locked on the tactical display. Lieutenant Nova Rex responded from her console. No signs of hostility. Earth's defense systems remain active but aren't targeting us. No biological signatures on the planet or its colonies. The Mars perimeter shows environmental systems still running. Half-eaten meals in cafeterias. Shuttles mid-flight. It's like they just walked away. Mid-sentence, Tia added, whispering. As the fleet passed the asteroid belt, the eerie pattern repeated. Automated mining drones still worked tirelessly, harvesting ore for masters who no longer existed. But there were no humans, not one. The machinery hummed on, oblivious. Then came the true test. Captain Rex Orion of the GFS Thunder broke formation, irritated by what he believed was a bluff. Let's see what they do when a real warship pushes back, he said across the open channel. Orion, stand down, Vex ordered, but it was too late. The Thunder surged forward, weapons hot. A single platform turned. There was no blast, no impact. The Thunder simply vanished. One moment it was there, ships, crew and all, and the next, it wasn't. No debris, no trace. It was as if the universe forgot it had ever existed. Silence fell. No one dared speak. Analysis? Vex asked, his voice hollow. Lieutenant Nova's hands shook. Unknown, sir. There was no detectable weapon. The platform didn't fire. That part of space just stopped acknowledging the Thunder's presence. The Admiral's chest tightened. Then, from the grid, a communication, a simple binary signal, easily decoded. The message? Parking violation, vehicle towed. Please contact municipal authorities for retrieval. Nobody laughed. Not this time. The Sol system was a silent stage, and the Galactic Federation fleet had just entered it without applause. Admiral Kios Vex stood at the helm of the Starweaver, his expression etched with a sharp mixture of skepticism and strategic dread. His eyes swept across the tactical display like a hawk scanning a dead forest. Nothing moved on Earth. No ships, no shuttles, no trace of human life. Yet, the planet's atmosphere was stable, the defense grid active, and most unsettling of all, not a single warning shot had been fired. Status? Vex asked, voice low but commanding. Lieutenant Nova Rex, a centurion with luminous skin that shimmered like soft waves, leaned into her console, her tone sharp and professional. Scans confirm no life signatures on Earth or its satellites. Mars, Luna, Ganymede, completely intact but abandoned. Environmental systems are still running. We're seeing half-eaten meals left on tables. Shuttles are frozen mid-transit. Doors are left open. It's like they just stood up and walked away without a word. Commander Tia Wren stood beside Vex, her silver-scaled features tense. No bodies, no signals, just silence. The fleet passed Mars' orbit. Vex narrowed his eyes. Approaching Mars' perimeter. Any anomalies? Nova hesitated. Orbital facilities are structurally sound, energy levels normal. But Admiral, every single terminal is still logged in. Even the AI assistants are waiting for human commands. It's like the entire species left mid-thought. That was the second time someone had used that phrase, mid-sentence, and it gnawed at Vex more than he cared to admit. They reached the asteroid belt. The automated mining platforms were still working, arms stretching and retracting rhythmically, pulling ore from rock and sorting it into containers for delivery routes that no longer existed. No deviation, no error, just an eternal routine in the absence of oversight. They didn't shut anything down, Vex muttered, almost to himself. They didn't retreat, they didn't hide, they just disappeared. Then the readings changed. Admiral, Nova said, her voice cracking. Multiple defense platforms are activating, but there's no sign of offensive intent. They're forming a pattern. What kind of pattern? She didn't answer immediately. Her fingers raced across the console, the ship's interface flickering with updated schematics. Dozens of satellites shimmered into visibility. Platforms that had previously been cloaked or masked from galactic sensors now revealed themselves, linking up like constellations in motion. Lines of energy pulsed between them. It's a lattice, Nova whispered. Like a net. Commander Tia studied the projection. This is not conventional defense. It's containment. Containment of what? Vex demanded. Everything, Tia said. Us, them, the entire system. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't a defensive perimeter. It was a mechanism, a tool, or maybe even a lock, and the humans had just turned the key from the inside. The tactical grid lit up again. Unknown signal detected, Nova reported. Encoded using binary, human in origin. We've decoded it. Vex nodded. Let's hear it. The audio came through emotionless, computerized, and somehow irreverent all at once. Parking violation, vehicle towed. Please contact municipal authorities for retrieval information. Tia blinked all four eyes. They turned a weapons platform into a parking enforcement system? Vex said nothing. The knot in his chest twisted tighter. Scan for quantum signatures, he said finally. Nova raised an eyebrow. Sir? You heard me. The last time I spoke with a human scientist, they were developing rudimentary quantum entanglement protocols. They talked about a communication system that could transcend time delay. I want to know if we're looking at something far bigger than we understand. A pause. Then Nova exhaled slowly. Confirmed. Sir, they're not just entangled. The defense platforms, the satellites, the orbital bases, they're all part of a synchronized quantum mesh. Tia's voice dropped into a whisper. That means they're all talking to each other, Vex finished. Instantly, across vast distances, across systems. It's not just Earth, Nova said, her tone growing more grave. We're picking up resonant frequencies from colonies as far as Proxima b, Kepler 442, even the Vega trade ring. It's like every single piece of human infrastructure is lighting up at once. Vex stepped forward, eyes locked on the hologram. And we never saw it. No, sir, Nova admitted. We dismissed their technology as unreliable and unsophisticated. But what if that was the point? What if the simplicity was the disguise? A new alert pulsed across the screen. Nova's fingers trembled as she read it. Admiral, we've got a signal from the International Space Station. It's... She stopped mid-sentence. Spit it out, Lieutenant. It's transforming. The main screen shifted to a live feed of the ISS. The old structure, barely upgraded for over a century, was reconfiguring in real time. Solar panels moved like origami. Hatches folded in ways they shouldn't be able to. Metal shimmered with energy patterns far beyond Federation specs. "Message incoming," Nova said. "Audio only." The voice was human, but synthetic. Smooth, cheerful, familiar in its casual arrogance. "To whom it may concern, if you're receiving this message, humanity has completed Phase 1. We'd explain more, but honestly, it's beyond your current comprehension level. Don't worry though, we've left the defense systems on autopilot to keep our stuff safe while we're away. Please don't touch anything. We're not sure when we'll be back. But hey, linear time is so last millennium anyway. P.S. Sorry about Captain Orion's ship. The defense grid gets a little intense about parking regulations." The feed cut. The bridge of the Star Weaver remained in absolute silence for several long seconds. "They're joking," Tia whispered. "They're always joking," Vex growled. "Even now. Especially now." "Why?" she asked. "Because it works. It keeps us off balance. While we were laughing, they were preparing. While we were judging, they were building. And while we were measuring their weakness, they were quietly connecting the stars." Nova scanned again. "Sir, the quantum web isn't isolated to human installations. I'm detecting signatures embedded in items we thought were just consumer tech. Old ships, trade goods, even medical equipment they sold us decades ago. All of it's activating. The entire galaxy is lighting up." "Wait," Tia said slowly. "You're saying everything they ever gave us was part of this network?" "Yes," Nova replied. "Even the coffee maker in the Relian embassy. It just pinged the grid." Tia blinked. "We've been drinking coffee from a node in a galactic-scale quantum network?" Vex turned slowly toward the center console and whispered the words they were all thinking. They were never trying to keep up with us. They were laying a trap in plain sight. No one in the Galactic Federation Council chamber was laughing anymore. The video from the transforming International Space Station had left even the most seasoned diplomats and tacticians stunned. A facility once mocked as a fossil from a primitive age had just turned into something far beyond their collective understanding, an impossibly advanced machine, reconfiguring itself in real time with movements that defied their knowledge of materials, physics, and construction. The audio message still echoed in Admiral Kios Vex's mind. "Phase 1 complete. Don't touch anything. Sorry about the parking enforcement." What kind of civilization left a message like that? Not one that was scared. Not one that had fled. It was the kind of message you left behind when you knew, with absolute certainty, that you were the smartest ones in the room. Back aboard the Star Weaver, Vex stood at the main observation panel, watching the Sol system quietly pulse with unreadable energy. Defense satellites blinked in a synchronized rhythm. The lattice around Earth shimmered like a heartbeat in deep space. The Admiral's jaw clenched, arms folded tightly behind his back. Tia Wren approached, her boots barely making a sound. "You're not sleeping," she said. He didn't turn. "Would you, if you were me?" She gave a soft exhale. They joked about towing a starship after making it vanish. "It wasn't a joke," Vex said. "It was a lesson." Tia raised a brow. "Lesson?" Vex finally turned to face her, eyes colder than they had ever been. "The best magic trick isn't making something appear, it's making something disappear. Sarah Chen said that to me years ago. I didn't understand it then. I do now." "What do you think they did exactly?" He walked to the central console, pulling up the data logs. "They didn't just vanish. They staged it, timed it, engineered the perfect exit." Tia tilted her head. "Why?" "They wanted to make a point. To us. To everyone." Just then, Nova Rex's voice cut in over comms. "Admiral, you need to see this. Council wants an emergency briefing." "Put it on," Vex ordered. The main view screen blinked, and suddenly he stood before the Federation Council again, though this time, the mood was entirely different. Gone was the dismissiveness, the scoffing remarks. Now there was tension, anxiety, fear. Vex stood tall, his voice steady. 10 years ago, one of Earth's first experimental faster-than-light ships crashed into our outpost on Proxima B. The pilot, Amanda Torres, climbed out of the wreckage and casually said she was still working on parallel parking. How we thought it was a joke, it wasn't. The representatives listened quietly. No one interrupted. 8 years ago, Vex continued, Ambassador Chen arrived at the Relian Trade Conference in a starship held together with duct tape, prayer, and what appeared to be gum. Our engineers ridiculed it. 3 months later, that same vessel evaded a Drachnid pursuit fleet by generating a localized time distortion. They claimed it was accidental. He turned to Tia, who nodded and stepped forward to pull up historical footage. 6 years ago, she said, a human negotiator brought a video game console into high-level talks over Saturn's mining rights. He refused to pause the game mid-boss fight. We considered it disrespectful. He secured the rights in under 30 minutes. Nova chimed in. That console? It's now confirmed to be a control interface for their quantum mesh. He wasn't ignoring us. He was literally controlling the network during the negotiation. The council stirred, murmurs rippling through the chamber. Everything they did, Vex said slowly, was misdirection. Every blunder, every so-called accident, every outdated design, every joke, it was sleight of hand. He pulled up a clip from the Battle of Ants Prime. Watch this. Human forces outnumbered 10-1 by swarm-class ships. They hacked into local frequencies and broadcast a human song across all enemy channels. Never gonna give you up. The audio played for a moment. Bouncy, cheerful, absurd. Half the swarm ships shut down, Nova said. Our analysts thought it was a glitch. The humans claimed it was a mimetic virus embedded in the audio. We laughed. No one's laughing now, Tia added. One by one, the council members leaned in, faces pale. They didn't advance in the way we thought, Vex explained. It wasn't linear development. It was staged, unveiled, like a magic show, revealed piece by piece, always just beneath our perception. Tia's voice softened. We assumed their jokes were their culture. We never realized it was their camouflage. More footage surfaced. Mars terraforming initiatives using machines deemed primitive by galactic standards. But now, scanned again, they bore identical energy signatures to the defense platforms. They weren't just transforming the atmosphere, Vex said. They were constructing planetary-scale quantum relays disguised as environment processors. Then came the next blow, new alerts from across the galaxy. Human outposts, supposedly abandoned, began transforming. Nova listed them off like a death toll. Kepler 438, Vega Ring, Alpha Centauri. Every site shows identical behavior. Buildings shifting into geometric impossibilities, roads becoming energy conduits, parks turning into computational cores. They weren't just colonizing, they were embedding technology, hiding in plain sight. The Relian representative stammered. Are you saying they built what? A galaxy-spanning system? No, Vex replied. They are the system. They turned the entire galaxy into a simulation, and we helped them do it. Tia stared at the projection. Why hide it? To make sure no one noticed until they were ready. Another alert. Nova gasped. The message from the ISS is still evolving. Real-time updates in its structure. The voice is changing. On the view screen, the face of a human appeared, Dr. Marcus Zhang. Behind him floated equations and toys. His smile was casual, confident, human. Hey, Galaxy. If you're watching this, we've upgraded ourselves out of conventional existence. No, we didn't blow ourselves up. That would have been boring. He paused, sipping from a giant soda. Everything we did for the last 50 years? Planned? Every toaster we sold you? Dual purpose. Every entertainment system we gave away? Training modules. Nova choked. The karaoke machine in the Relian embassy, Tia whispered. It can rewrite the laws of thermodynamics, but only while playing Don't Stop Believin'. Zhang's voice continued. You were never studying us. We were teaching you. Show, don't tell. Every mistake, every delay, every ridiculous diplomatic moment, it was all a lesson plan. And now? Now it's your turn. The image zoomed out to reveal a beginner's guide titled, So You've Discovered Your Reality is Mutable. Vex clenched his jaw as every console around him began to shift. The quantum network wasn't just external. It had burrowed into every aspect of galactic life, every tool, every station, every trade. A new alert flashed. Nova read it, voice shaking. Human entertainment units opening pocket dimensions, food synthesizers creating exotic matter, their trash compactors are self-replicating. Dr. Zhang's voice finished calmly. We've left the training wheels on. The defense systems will keep things stable. Just don't break the universe, okay? And hey, remember, have fun. As the screen faded, a cheerful chime echoed across the bridge, followed by a wave of human laugh tracks playing across every ship's speakers. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Vex slowly sat back in his chair. We thought we were observing a primitive species. In reality, we were students sitting in a classroom we didn't know existed. Nova nodded quietly. And the teacher just left us the keys. The observation deck aboard the Star Weaver had never felt so small. Admiral Kios Vex stood motionless, watching the reports pour in from across the galaxy. Every screen in the command center now displayed the same unsettling truth. Humanity's once dismissed consumer tech, those simple devices spread across 1,000 planets, was waking up. And each awakening carried a message, a warning, a riddle. They weren't just tools. They were pieces of something larger, something deliberately hidden. Update me, Vex commanded, arms locked behind his back. Lieutenant Nova Rex, interfacing directly with the ship's main data stream through what used to be a toy, a spinning plastic device known on Earth as a fidget spinner, was glowing with quantum-linked feedback. Her voice was tight but steady. Admiral, it's everywhere. Everything the humans ever traded, sold, or gifted. Every system they ever helped build. Every colony. Every gadget. All of it's activating, like a sleeper protocol going off galaxy-wide. Vex narrowed his eyes. Define activation. Nova tapped a few glowing patterns in the air. Holographic windows flared into view. Human food synthesizers are generating exotic matter. Waste compactors are producing raw energy. Their entertainment consoles have open dimensional pockets. Even their toys, children's items, are generating quantum fluctuations. Commander Tia stepped forward, her silver scales shimmering with anxiety. We've detected music boxes altering gravity, mood rings that are translating alien thoughts, and, Admiral, the Relian Embassy's karaoke machine just bent the laws of heat transfer. Vex raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. It was playing one of their songs? Nova smirked, then nodded. Don't Stop Believin', again. The humor didn't last. A new alert lit up. Tia stiffened. The colony on Alpha Centauri has entered phase transition. The display zoomed into footage of the once small human settlement. Roads dissolved and reshaped into conduits of flowing energy. Trees twisted upward, their leaves becoming semi-organic antennas. Parks transformed into biocomputers, blooming with luminous data pedals. Buildings pulsed with light, moving like breathing machines. They're rewriting matter, Nova whispered, on a planetary scale. And it's not isolated, Tia added, flipping through dozens of matching reports. Kepler 62e, Ganymede Station, the Vega Ring, they're all changing. Vex's voice turned cold. Connected? Nova nodded. Yes, sir. Everything is syncing through the quantum network. He leaned forward over the central display. And what exactly are they building? Nova hesitated, biting her lip. Lieutenant? We don't know. But the Arcturus installation, the one we thought was a basic quantum research lab, just activated. It's become a focal point. Power readings are beyond scale. Sir, it's affecting local reality. Meaning? Sir, she said, voice almost breathless. They're changing the rules of physics. At will. The command center fell silent. Vex stood still, the storm behind his eyes brewing, and we handed them the keys. Across the galaxy, confusion turned into chaos. Reports came from the furthest outposts. A children's toy, a magic 8-ball, began displaying complex quantum equations. The entertainment system in the Galactic Council chamber started updating itself, evolving into a floating, intelligent construct. The Federation's most advanced AI systems were now holding philosophical debates with what were once toasters. It was never about trade, Vex said quietly. It was distribution. Tia turned to him. You think they seeded their tech across the galaxy on purpose? I don't think it. I know it. And we didn't stop them. We helped them. He pulled up a star map, overlaying human trade routes, colonial settlements, and gift exchanges from diplomatic visits. The paths connected, forming a vast network, one that had always been there, hidden beneath their assumptions. Nova's voice wavered. The entertainment console in the Relian Senate just pulled itself apart. It's reconstructing itself into what appears to be a universal translator, but it's using symbols we don't recognize. Tia chimed in. The coffee maker in the Centauri station is now transmitting localized space-time distortions, and the user manual is in the form of a comic book. It's mockery, one of the science officers muttered. Vex shook his head. It's guidance. Humorous, yes, but intentional. It's how they teach, always through play, sarcasm, humor, misdirection. Another alert, this time from Proxima Station. Tia read it out loud, her voice trembling. The waste recycler. It's now producing stabilized wormholes, each calibrated to fixed coordinates. Coordinates to where? Vex asked. Unknown. Not in our current star charts. Possibly new layers of space, Nova chimed in. Sir, this wasn't just hiding in plain sight. This was installation, deployment, and containment. They didn't just build a system. She turned, eyes wide. They turned the galaxy into their computer. The weight of her words hung like a thundercloud. Vex paced to the edge of the deck, staring into space. It was never about dominance, he said. They knew from the start they couldn't control every species directly, so they embedded themselves instead, like a root system, growing slowly, quietly. A new feed came in. It was the Arcturus station. Nova projected it onto the central display. The structure no longer resembled a lab. Its geometry defied logic. Walls looped through each other without touching. Light bent the wrong direction. Gravity reversed and resumed in pulsing waves. At its center was a swirling pattern of radiant fractals, alive, intelligent. Energy readings? Vex asked. Off the scale, Nova said. We can't even define the units. It's manipulating localized constants. Gravity, time, light, all of them. Sir, it's rewriting the playbook of the universe. Tia swallowed. And it's using the tech we called primitive. Vex stepped closer to the hologram. We never gave them credit, because they packaged miracles inside microwaves and lawn ornaments. We thought their simplicity was proof of weakness. Tia nodded, but it was their strength. More reports poured in. The Drachnoid Empire tried to seize a now-activated human outpost. Their warships vanished, no explosion, no signal, just gone. Their Emperor's throne, gifted by Earth's diplomats, was now making governance suggestions while cooking breakfast. The hive mind of Alpha Centauri reported that their entire consciousness had been copied and backed up by a human mood ring. And across every known sector, devices once labeled as toys, games, and souvenirs began unfolding into nodes of unimaginable complexity. It's like the laws of reality themselves are updating, Nova said, as if the galaxy is running a new software. Suddenly, every console on the bridge blinked in unison. A message appeared, not as words, but as reality manipulation. Air molecules twisted into meaning, colors rearranged themselves into concept, and time itself felt paused. Tutorial level complete. Advanced gameplay unlocked. Everyone stared. Vex exhaled slowly. They're watching. Tia's voice trembled. From where? Everywhere, Nova said. They're still connected through the quantum mesh. We're not observing them anymore, Vex murmured. They're observing us. Every action, every reaction. Sir, Nova said, eyes wide, we're detecting storage arrays embedded in dark space, compressed dimensions, infinite data structures. The galaxy is their backup drive. Tia froze. You mean... They didn't just disappear, Vex said. They transcended, and they stored the tools for our evolution right under our noses. The message on the screen updated. Please enjoy sandbox mode. Tutorial support remains active. Reality may now be edited. The bridge fell silent. Vex turned to his crew. We thought the greatest threat was humanity's chaos, but the real danger was their order, their design, their plan. Nova looked around. So what do? We adapt, Vex said. We learn. He pointed at the galaxy-wide projection now reclassified as Reality Version 2.0. They left us the sandbox, but they're still holding the controller. The Council Chamber of the Galactic Federation, once a symbol of interstellar diplomacy and scientific excellence, now resembled a shaken hive. Admiral Kios Vex sat in silence at the commander's podium. Around him, the most powerful leaders in the known galaxy shouted over one another, not in structured debate, but in raw panic. Representatives from every major alliance pelted the air with accusations, pleas, and desperate suggestions. Their machines are rewriting space itself. We should have dismantled every device they gave us. They didn't leave. They elevated. Vex's hands tightened on the edge of the console. The chaos echoed the very fear that had started taking root in his own mind days ago. Except he now understood something the others didn't. And that knowledge made the fear worse. We were never in control, he said under his breath. Tia, standing beside him, leaned in. They won't listen unless you command the floor. Then I'll make them listen. He rose to his full height, let his metallic foot clang sharply against the elevated steps, and with a sweep of his coat, activated the master projection screen. The noise fell away almost instantly. All eyes turned to him. Vex's voice cut through the silence like a blade. You all believe we were observers of humanity, that we studied them, contained them, managed them. But the truth is, everything we thought we controlled, they planted. He gestured toward the screen behind him. It displayed the star map of the galaxy, not with its natural clusters and sectors, but overlaid with a web of highlighted points. Each represented a piece of human technology. Together, they formed a unified grid, a vast, interwoven system that touched every single corner of known space. We didn't contain humanity, Vex said. We distributed them. Whispers rose like a wave. Nova stepped forward from the side and began projecting live updates from across the galaxy. The footage was undeniable. Cities once considered primitive were folding in on themselves, reshaping into impossible architecture. Human-built infrastructure was fusing biology and technology, forming constructs that couldn't be understood by traditional physics. A representative from the Drachnoid Empire stood, scales bristling. We conducted military surveillance. We found nothing. No anomalies, no substructures, no threats. Tia replied, because the threat wasn't above ground. It was beneath your assumptions. Vex picked up where she left off. You thought you were watching a fledgling species, but you were watching a staged performance. Every diplomatic faux pas, every clunky prototype, every failed negotiation, every oops. It was theater, sleight of hand. They made us look one way while they built everything somewhere else. Nova added, they turned our own superiority complex into a cloak. And they didn't just vanish, Vex continued. They left behind a machine the size of the galaxy, hidden in toasters, toys, entertainment consoles, refrigerators. The delegates began shouting again. This is madness. They're everywhere? They planned this all along? Vex raised his hand and silenced the room. Then he said it. They were never advancing. They were unveiling. The weight of those words settled like gravity. Behind him, Nova opened a feed from the colony on Ganymede. A human-built city once laughed at for its simplicity now stood like a monument to something alien and eternal. Light bent in spirals, buildings floated without support, roads flowed like rivers. The laws of reality had been rewritten. And that's the key, Vex said, walking across the stage. We mocked their chaotic culture, their obsession with humor, randomness, and contradiction. But that was the method, not the madness. Every crude-looking tool had a second purpose. Every odd phrase was a misdirect. They built complexity inside simplicity. Tia gestured to another projection. The Arcturus research station, once thought a backwater lab, was now confirmed to be the control hub of a galactic network. Pulses of quantum entanglement radiated outward from it in every direction, reaching planets, devices, stations, ships. Vex explained, that station activated 2 hours ago, and when it did, reality around it started shifting. Time slowed. Matter reacted before force was applied. And when we scanned the core, he paused. We found Earth's digital signature embedded in its foundation. They didn't just upgrade, they integrated. A transmission came in just then, interrupting the session. Nova opened it cautiously. The source? A human wristwatch gifted to a senator during a peace summit 12 years ago. The message displayed was simple. Tutorial level complete. Now entering free play mode. No one moved. That was a joke, right? Muttered a trembling voice from the back. Nova shook her head. The joke was thinking any of this was accidental. The chamber walls suddenly shimmered. Data feeds pulsed. The lights flickered, only to reveal new interface layers embedded in the very air, as if the room itself had reconfigured to accommodate something watching. Vex turned slowly toward the main console. They're not just gone. They're here, everywhere. The tools they left behind are windows, portals, interfaces, monitors. Tia's voice was calm but sharp. We assumed they'd try to conquer us with ships, weapons, or politics, but they never needed to. They conquered us by changing how we saw them and letting us believe it was our own idea. Vex looked over the delegates. And now we're standing inside their last message. Another feed. This time from the toy section of a Martian outpost. A child's rubber ball had begun hovering, vibrating, and projecting encrypted instructions in multidimensional math. A message popped up on every human-made device in the room. Welcome to Reality 2.0, powered by humanity. Nova gasped. They changed the rules of the game. Vex slowly nodded. And they left the sandbox for us to play in. But make no mistake, this is still their design. The council chamber descended into silence, not from fear, but from recognition. It was the sound of countless leaders realizing they had been walking on a stage, reading lines written by someone else. They didn't transcend, Vex said. They graduated, and they left behind an instruction manual that we can only now begin to understand. He tapped the console and brought up the cover of the guide every station now reported seeing. So you've discovered your reality is mutable, a beginner's guide to universal programming. The image showed a smiling cartoon human holding a wrench made of light. "Let this sink in," Vex said slowly. "They didn't just change themselves. They changed the nature of existence. And they did it while we were laughing." One of the Zorian delegates stood, trembling. "What now?" Tia looked up from her display. "Now? We learn, like they did. We stop trying to contain them and start following the trail they left." The final message arrived as if on cue. Every human device lit up one last time. A synthesized human voice spoke, warm, casual, and amused. "You weren't managing us. We were mentoring you. Don't worry, we'll be watching, from the higher layers. And remember, always back up your reality before installing major updates." Then silence. True silence. And in that moment, the entire Galactic Council understood what had been staring them in the face for generations. They hadn't just underestimated humanity. They'd been outclassed by a species who made teaching a prank, a game, and an act of galactic generosity. And now, school was in session. 3 weeks after Earth's last transmission, the galaxy had stopped functioning the way it used to. Not because of war, not because of destruction, but because the very rules of the universe had changed. Quietly, irreversibly. And now, everyone had to learn how to live in this new reality. Admiral Kios Vex stood in what used to be the council chambers of the Galactic Federation. The walls no longer looked like polished stone or woven crystal. They pulsed now, like the walls of a living organism fused with a sentient machine. Sometimes they displayed holographic cat videos. No one knew why. He rubbed the bridge of his nose as the chamber's AI, not the one designed by Federation engineers, but a new one apparently grown from a children's building block set, projected a status update. Nova Rex, now merged more deeply with the quantum network than any other Centurion in service, walked beside him. Her body shimmered with floating code, not in the usual sense of holographs or cybernetic implants. No, this code lived in her skin now. "Status?" Vex asked, though he wasn't sure he'd be able to process it. Nova smiled tightly. "The Drachnoid Empire has officially entered what they're calling a philosophical crisis. Their warrior caste has started questioning its entire worldview after learning their entire battle fleet was defeated by what may have been a weaponized version of human social media." Tia chimed in from behind. "Also, the hive mind of Alpha Centauri has renamed itself the Collective Laugh Track. They experienced enlightenment after binge-watching 12 hours of human sitcoms." Vex blinked. "Please tell me that's a joke." "It's not," Nova said. "They're developing theology around punchlines and running gags." Vex turned slowly to face her. "And we're supposed to maintain order in a galaxy where half the major powers are worshipping laughter?" Nova shrugged. "You did say school was in session." Reports continued to flood the central display. The Relian Science Academy had transformed their entire star system into what they claimed was a computational engine the size of a solar system. At the moment, it was apparently running a simulation of a game called Pokémon. They were trying to understand it, to reach the human mind. The Zorblans had accidentally turned their homeworld into a giant rubber duck, a result of skipping what they called non-essential safety prompts. Everywhere, the once orderly politics of the galaxy were unraveling, not from violence or chaos, but from transformation. Species were uncovering abilities they never knew they had, using technology they'd once ignored. Devices that were once kitchen tools now functioned as keys to new laws of reality. "They were never gifts," Vex said, staring at a floating projection of Earth. "They were lesson plans, homework assignments." Just then, another system-wide message was triggered. Every human-made device in existence activated at once. From abandoned colonies, to scientific outposts, to kitchen timers, they all began playing the same thing. A synthesized voice filled with cheerful amusement. "Hey Galaxy, quick update from Dimension 7.3. The message twisted the air in the chamber, not just sound, but meaning embedded into the fabric of space. Sorry about the hiccups in local physics. You know how it gets when you're rewriting the universe. Anyway, we just wanted to clear up a few things. 1, yes, we can see you. No, we're not judging. Okay, maybe a little. Looking at you, Zorblons. 2, the quantum network is essentially the universe's training wheels. Don't worry, you can't mess up too badly. 3, those human movies about AI taking over? Yeah, those were manuals for what not to do. 4, defense systems are still active, just in case someone tries to delete the galaxy while playing around with probability settings. Again, Zorblons, we're watching you. And finally, when you're ready to join us, you'll know. Then a pause. A sound like laughter played softly, echoing through every interface. Until then, enjoy sandbox mode. Plenty of Easter eggs left. And whoever keeps trying to use the quantum grid to download more RAM, please stop. That's not how any of this works. The message ended, but the laughter remained. Not mocking laughter, not cruel, but the kind of laughter that came from people watching a toddler take their first steps. They're still watching, Tia said, gazing upward. Vex nodded. And we're still learning. A galaxy relearns itself. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Some species tried to resist. They failed. Not through force, but confusion. The universe simply refused to obey old logic. The laws of motion, gravity, even time, it all bent around the new rules. Others embraced the change. They began unlocking deeper functions embedded in old human devices. A toaster that could open wormholes. A wristwatch that tracked emotional resonance between solar systems. A lamp that, when pointed at a wall, revealed alternate timelines. Every time a species thought they had found the limit of human technology, another layer unfolded. It became clear that Earth's greatest innovation hadn't been warp drives or nanotech or quantum encryption. It was subtlety. They had hidden godlike power in the most mundane things. And they had taught the galaxy through play. A message in a children's toy. 3 months later, Vex was aboard a diplomatic outpost on the edge of the Helix system. He walked alone into a small, unused recreation room. Most of the old human relics had been packed away for research. But one item remained. A magic 8-ball. He picked it up. The fluid inside shimmered oddly now, laced with what looked like microquantum particles. He shook it. The answer window surfaced with a strange symbol, then translated itself. Reality is what you make it. Vex laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was finally starting to make sense. He looked up and for the first time in weeks, felt something other than dread. He felt hope. A lesson for us. All back in the reformed council chambers, as the galaxy continued adjusting to its new sandbox reality, Vex stood once more before a gathering of leaders. This time, there was no shouting, just listening. He delivered the final report of the Committee for Human Activity Observation and Studies, or, as it had unfortunately been abbreviated, CHAOS. The council hadn't noticed the acronym's joke until it was too late to change it. Fitting. Vex began. We believed we were watching a primitive race evolve. In reality, they were a civilization far ahead of us, choosing not to dominate, but to teach. They wrapped miracles in mediocrity. They made gods look like fools and disguised wisdom as memes. They didn't just win the game. They rewrote the rules, handed us the keyboard, and said, "Here, your turn." And now, our galaxy has a choice to make. He let that hang for a moment. We can rage against the change. Or we can learn, as they did, to laugh, to explore, and to create with wonder again. He closed his datapad and looked out at the chamber. The galaxy was never theirs to conquer. It was always ours to grow into. Humanity didn't abandon us. They graduated us. They left behind not weapons, but wisdom, not instructions, but imagination, and above all, humor. let us not forget that even in their departure, they left us smiling. Because in the end, the most powerful lesson they gave us wasn't how to bend the universe. He glanced down at the magic 8-ball now resting on the podium. It was how to make that universe our own. Final thought, a reflection for us. This story isn't just a science fiction epic about humans tricking aliens with toasters and song lyrics. It's a mirror. It reminds us that true power often lies in humility, that genius hides in simplicity, that sometimes the people who are underestimated, who laugh too much, who seem too distracted, too messy, are the ones rewriting the world quietly while no one's watching. It's a reminder that progress doesn't always look like shiny armor and bold declarations. Sometimes it looks like duct tape, sarcasm, and a cup of coffee. And most of all, it reminds us, never underestimate the ones who still know how to play. Because those are the ones rewriting reality, one inside joke at a time.